Yes, guys, how we doing? And welcome to the podcast,
Talking Sense.
Talking Sense. That's the name. So we're new to this, but it's our goal every week now to bring you some value by selecting a topic every week and covering, a couple of potential struggles or barriers that people might be facing in the fitness world. We might every now and again, sway off topic and talk about something else, but every week's going to have a focus for us.
Want to try and bring you some solutions, don't we, to the problems?
We do.
Basically, with a few laughs maybe in between.
That's the one. So it'll be available on YouTube. It'll also be available on Spotify and other podcast platforms. So this week, we did a bit of market research over on Instagram and we asked a couple of questions. And this week we're going to focus on training from home. Ooh.
Big topic.
Currently. Well, exactly. So, like we said, we're going to talk about a couple of potential struggles and potential barriers that people might be facing, and then spend a bit of time talking about some solutions to those problems, so that you can take some information away and hopefully it'll ease the situation for you all a little bit.
What do you think we should kick off on the training at home problems?
So, one thing that always crops up in this situation, and it's probably always going to crop up, is one thing that people are massively struggling with at the minute is just the motivation to train. Do you want to start off?
Yeah, I think everyone, well, especially in the current situation we're in, but as a general thing, training at home is quite difficult for a lot of people because, one, obvious reasons, you have very little equipment. Two, you're not in a training type environment. Three, it's probably pretty tough juggling cooking some potatoes and changing your kid's nappy whilst you're trying to do chest to floor burpees. But everyone's going to be different here, but obviously it's going to be decreased in general training at home motivation, that is. I'd like to add to that, Bradley.
Yeah, so as always, we're going to keep this relatively simple and flowing. We don't want to make it too regimented, do we? So me and Dan might even have a little bit of a disagreement, guys.
Hey, that'd be good.
That would be good. That would be good. So, we have our opinions on these things. But one thing that I'm massive on when it comes to motivation is that isn't going to be around all the time. That isn't going to, relying on motivation to see you from A to B is just not a efficient way to achieve your goal. I was literally speaking to Dan about this morning, and I think one thing that will massively help with your motivation is setting yourself up for success in advance. So when it comes to, I think most people, what they're going to do is they're going to roll out of bed with a very vague idea of what they're doing for the day. Most of the time, they wake up, probably lie about for 10 minutes, scroll through Instagram, flick the covers off, I don't know, maybe get a shower, maybe not, go to work for 8 hours, come home, sort the kids out or whatever, and then, the training is kind of left and put on the back burner to some degree. And when you do it like that, I think you're just setting yourself up for failure. Because the workout's always going to be the last thing that's kind of sat on your mind. So one thing that I always suggest and I was actually saying to Dan this morning was set yourself up with some habits and give yourself a daily routine. One thing that I'm massive on that I never used to be massive on when I was younger, and I now see the benefit in it, is making your bed. So I say that because it's a daily habit that might not necessarily mean too much in just by making your bed, but in the long term, it's self-discipline. Giving yourself that structure and always waking up, always making your bed look presentable. it's the first tick off the box to set you off in the right direction for the day. Me and Dan more so than me even, is probably, we're quite regimented in the way that we go about our days. Dan gets up a little bit earlier than me, but we both crack on with work. I always make my bed again. Dan, do you make your bed?
Most of the time, but I don't feel like I'm as good as you here.
See,
I get the point.
I always have to make it look. I have to make it look pretty. It has to look exactly. It's not just a rough make of the bed. It's a pristine make of the bed. We get up. We do a bit of work. We both train at a similar time most days. We come back, probably do a bit more work, cook tea at again a similar time of day, and then we both probably do a bit more work, and then we chill and watch a film every night.
I think motivation kind of rolls with getting into the habit of doing stuff.
Exactly.
Like what I do definitely agree with there, with what Brad's saying, is if you can set up your day where you have got some boxes to tick, I guarantee when you are ticking off them boxes, it's going to naturally make you feel better about yourself.
For sure.
And probably give you more motivation to carry on doing stuff.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So it's like, the little ticks of, did this job, did this job, did this job, and doing them well. When you get to that workout at, say, 6 p.m. after you've already done your daily jobs, you've had a good day, and therefore you don't want to mess that day up. So you're more likely to do that workout then, rather than just kind of going through your day like, I might do this now, do you know what I mean? So it's the self-discipline of giving yourself that, cementing that habit, giving yourself that routine. That workout becomes part of your routine, and you get into the habit of working out regularly. That motivation then, even on the days that you might not feel, you might not want to, you'll be a lot more likely to do that if you've had a very productive day in general.
If I have a day where if I ever have a day where I think I will train later on, that's not saying I won't, but if the rest of my day compromises of not doing much, and I find myself sat around watching Netflix and I'll have some food and just generally not doing much, my motivation to train is very low. And sometimes you wouldn't think that, because you think, oh, well, you've just chilled out all day, you'll be well rested and you'll want to go and train. It's not the case with me. It might not be the case with yourselves, but that just puts me in a place where I want to do fuck all, because I've just been doing fuck all.
Yeah, exactly.
So get on the tick roller coaster.
Exactly. You've essentially set yourself, by allowing yourself to, believe that not doing something is okay. You obviously, that's then going to become the habit. Whereas if you start making positive things the habit, then you're more likely to do more positive things in the long run. The more simple thing that you could do is, when it comes to motivation, is just realign yourself with your goals. Obviously, if you have a goal, if your goal means that much to you, then most of the time you don't need a lot of motivation. Every now and again it'll dip, but if you are dedicated to, let's say, shifting 14 pounds or a stone, or making yourself feel confident, or when Boris allows us to go on holiday this summer, if that is going to happen, if you want to be able to feel comfortable on that beach in that bikini, in them shorts, if that means
tiny whities.
Exactly, if that means that much to you, you will always find a way to do the hard things.
I'm very probably a final point on this and all before we move on. I very much agree with what Brad said about motivation is not always something that just drops in your lap. You have to sometimes just get yourself together and go and get what you need to get done. Sometimes you got to meet your motivation halfway to get things done. It's not something that will just all of a sudden hit you in the face.
So essentially what we're saying is short is get a grip.
No weights.
But yeah. Right. So that's that one. Moving on to the next one for you guys. I think a lot of people at the minute is, like Dan says, struggling with having no weights. And that's completely understandable. For people like myself and Dan and other people that are regular gym goers, It's going to be quite a bit of an adjustment to go from, having a multitude of machines and relatively never-ending amount of weight to be able to move, to then being stuck in your kitchen with a couple of tins of beans and maybe a cucumber to bisect.
A long cucumber.
Yeah, you're gonna need a big cucumber. But ultimately there are ways around this, and Dan can set us off first.
Yeah, so I'll go with probably the standard one of not having any equipment at home. So you're going to be relying on bodyweight workouts, HIIT workouts, whatever form of workout it is, but you've got no kit. So this is where you've just got to be a little bit smarter or seek some advice. There is ways where you can make your body weight work for you and make your workouts more intense at home. And that might be performing your reps slower. So really, basically playing around with your tempos a little bit. You might have to put some holds in there to create more tension in your muscles. There is ways to do it. You might have to do quite a lot more reps. You've just got to be a little bit smarter with your training when you've got no kit. But you can have a hell of a good workout with just your body weight. You've just got to find ways that are going to make your workouts more intense, and push yourself.
I think a big one's definitely for what you've got to consider is, using your body weight. Because you haven't got that load to put your body under, you're going to have to make the muscle work a lot harder. Because you've only got one set weight, which is your body weight. So one thing that you can focus on is the tempo of your reps. So the longer that your muscle is under tension, the harder that muscle is going to find it to complete that rep. Imagine doing a squat hold. Like there's only so long you can do a squat hold before your quads, your glutes
give away.
Just kind of go, nah, not having it. So let's just say what you would normally squat with a barbell at 60 kilo, you're probably looking at a tempo of about a 2 second eccentric and a 1 second to 2 second concentric. So to be doing that body weight, you're probably looking at a 3, 4, 5 second eccentric, maybe a little bit of a pause at the bottom, and then the same for the concentric. So focusing on the tempo of your reps is one massive one.
I'd probably say as well, when you are performing your workouts, especially if you're doing things like squats, whatever you're doing, try and bring yourself to failure. I know that might take quite a lot of reps to do that, and you might have to implement what Brad said there on tempo to make failure come quicker, but you can still fail your muscles and bring your muscles to failure with your body weight.
For sure. And I think with tempo, there's plenty of other ways you can do this. So when working in muscle groups, you can always work in supersets, which is going to make your sets last longer. Although you're doing, let's say you do squats into reverse lunges, 10 on squats alone might be relatively easy, but 10 squats into 10 reverse lunges is going to be a little bit harder. You can take it one step further and put them into trisets or giant sets, so 3 or 4 exercises back to back with no rest. Again, when it comes to tempo, like I said before, you're just making that muscle work for longer. That's just exactly the same principle as doing a superset. Although you're performing your reps a little bit faster or at a regular tempo, by putting exercises back to back, especially of the same muscle group, they're still essentially working for longer. But all you're doing is doing extra reps or extra movements of the same muscle group. Because like I say, although the exercises are different, the same muscle groups are still being used. So that's going to create more tension in that muscle when you're not allowing it to rest.
You're definitely gonna, when you're in the gym, you're more likely to maybe do, you might be on a machine or you might be in the free weights area, but a lot of the time we do one exercise at a time. We might put a couple of exercises together in a typical gym session. Not to say that you don't do giant sets and things, but definitely with home training, I think you'll find that your workouts are more fast-paced to be more productive. It's not going to be a case where you're going to be like, right, I'll do some squats, then I'll have a little rest, and then I'll do another set of squats, and then I'll move on to my second exercise. You probably are going to be putting circuits together. You might be using certain training methods like EMOMs and AMRAPs and things like that. Circuits, so you can get a sweat on and get some intensity into your workouts.
It's going to be harder for you to provide your muscle with the same amount of stimulus as it would be in the gym, so you're going to have to find ways to make these workouts more intense. Other than that, the best thing you can do is increase your frequency of training. So whereas you would maybe only train legs once a week, you might want to train them 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe change up your training split from legs and upper body to full body, and just get 4 or 5 full body workouts in. That way the muscle groups are working more regularly. And then again, kind of going back to what we said before, the volume. So more reps, more sets, more sessions in general.
That's a really good point. And don't forget as well, which is probably quite motivational for me to say, especially in these times. Sometimes when you are forced to go into a different training style, where you're going to train your muscles completely differently than what you normally would do in the gym, it might be a bit of a shock. And shocking your muscles, especially if you're wanting to develop them, can sometimes be a good thing. So it's not all doom and gloom, you can take advantage of that as well. What I'm specifically saying there, the change in training styles might just shock your muscles a little bit. All these high reps and fast-paced sets that you're doing might actually trigger a little bit of stimulation there. So it's not all bad.
Without going into too much science, if you're particularly used to using heavy load all the time, lots of rest, if you go to high intensity, lots of reps, lots of sets, I guarantee you'll be crippled for a little while, won't you? If you threw a power lifter into a CrossFit session or whatever, his body would be knackered. It requires different muscle fibers to perform these movements in a different manner. So these muscle fibers are gonna, they're gonna switch on. They're gonna be like, what is this? What is going on? Do you know what I mean? So there are different ways. You just got to use your brain. Take mine and Dan's advice. Rewatch this video.
Talking sense.
Over and over again. We're just talking sense, guys. That's what it is.
A quick one. This is probably kind of linked a little bit to motivation, but I know a few people have talked to me, definitely, and probably you, about switching their mindset when it comes to, I'm talking about home training here, switching their mindset from, we're just having to do the workout. So, they've had a day at work, or they've been going about the daily routine, and, dragging yourself to do a home workout could be more difficult than just going to the gym and doing it, because it's not a training environment. But what I found, a lot of the time, it's the dragging yourself to do the workout that is the hard bit, and not the workout. So just getting to that point where you're doing it, and then you'll be fine.
I think that's to expand on that. When Dan said, I need to change my mindset to be able to do the workout, how about thinking about the workout is actually the thing that will change your mindset? You go into that session and you've had a shit day at work. If you prove to yourself that you can smash a workout, I guarantee you that the sense of achievement and fulfillment will, you'll go into the next day feeling a lot more positive about it. So rather than sitting here thinking, I need to, muster up the courage and the motivation to do this workout,
mate.
Just dive straight in.
You're not going to war, guys.
You go to bed exactly. You're not going to war. So it's one of those things. Workouts release endorphins. They're going to make you feel good.
Train.
Dan is moody if he doesn't train.
Yeah.
You're all blessed to not have to live with him.
Hey!
I'm joking. He's a delight. Now, next point. And this really, really pisses me off, I'll be honest.
I think I know what you're going to say.
It really does
Might
my
not
head
be
in.
what
It
he's
really
gonna
does
say.
my head in. Honestly, it blows my mind.
Are you going to bring up some technological stuff?
Yes,
here?
I am.
Yes, I'm glad he's going to do this because it
Honestly,
pisses me off as well.
I hate it, man. Like, we're in this technological age, yeah, where there's virtual reality and fucking Apple Watches and all this bullshit.
Fitbits.
Yeah. They're great for certain things, okay? So I had a girl recently speak to me about, I'm not burning enough calories in my workout, and I see other people putting their stories on Instagram and they're saying theirs burns 550 calories and I'm only burning 150 calories. What's going on? I'm sweating, I'm dying, my body's broken, I feel like I'm working really hard, but my watch just telling me I'm not, and I'm just like really breaking
My watch is telling me I've only done 20 calories and Sophie next door did 50 last night, man.
And so I'm just like, you know, it blows my mind. And they're becoming the thing that is going to stop you from getting to where you need to be. They're a tool, they're not something that you should be focusing on. And I think people get so confused by it because they don't know what they're actually tracking. Like, when it comes to training, and this question that we got asked on Instagram, by the way, was specific to weight training. So the question was, how do I burn more calories in non-HIIT based sessions? So for a start, tracking your calories in a non-HIIT based session, so a weight session, is completely backwards. The goal of a weight-based session isn't to burn calories. That isn't what you're trying to do. If it's cardio, if it's a cardio session, if it's a HIIT session, if it's a run, if it's a cycle, if it's a ski, if it's a session in the bedroom, like, these things burn calories, and they should be what you should be focusing on, you know, trying to burn and expend as much energy as possible, which is going to further your deficit to increase the chances of you losing weight.
That was a very good sentence. No commas.
I know. It just rolls off the tongue, mate. We're just talking sense. What you need to be focusing on in a weight session is not that. You're focusing on a completely different adaptation. So when it comes to weights, you want to be able to progress your strength. Now, progressing your strength and burning calories have nothing to do with each other. You should be focusing on progression when it comes to rep ranges, bettering your form, increased load on the bar if you have one. You're aiming to maintain as much muscle mass as possible, if not grow it, depending on the dieting phase that you're currently in. If you're trying to lose body fat, then muscle maintenance is the goal from a weight session. If you are looking to gain muscle while in a surplus, then you know you're not meant to be looking at burning calories. If anything, I'm going to advise anyone listening to this or watching this, if you're in a weight session, turn off your watch. It does not need to be on. Doesn't matter what your heart rate is. Doesn't matter whether you burn 100 calories or 300 calories. That isn't what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on, like I said, getting stronger, improving your performance in the gym when it comes to strength progression. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if it's HIIT, these are the only times you should have a watch on. If you're walking outside, you should have a watch on to track your steps.
I can't wait to come into this.
It gets me turned up, honestly. I'm so triggered right now. I'm just like, it just blows my mind. It really does. Dan, take over, please.
You're right.
No.
Right, okay. God, I'm going to really be miserable now about it. Because I'm really old-fashioned. But I understand. There are great little tools. You can track your steps. You can get a feel for how many calories you have burnt off, which is great, and it can help you in ways. But don't forget the fundamental important things. Like Brad has just touched on there, you know, if you're doing a weight training session in the gym, focus on your progression, focus on breaking down your muscle groups, focus on training intensely. If you've got time to look and think about your watch, you're probably not working hard enough. If I do a gym session, whatever session it is, bloody weights, cardio, I know if I'm working because I will be sweating for one. I will be grabbing that water bottle consistently. My breathing will be up. My heart rate will be up. You know, I will know
Don't need a
I
watch
am
to tell you
working
that your heart
hard.
rate's up either.
Your body will listen to your body. Your body will tell you how hard you are working.
You know, you've got this like really mad heart thing that monitors heart rate in your body itself. It's just called your actual heart. So like, you know, when like you're really working hard and it goes boom, 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 and it feels like it's beating 100 miles an hour. That, you know, your heart rate's high. You don't need to look at your watch and go, ooh, 147.5 beats per minute.
It's just don't get too caught up on them is what we are saying. Yes, they can be a useful tool, and they also tell the time. I'm sure they do, don't they? I don't have one, you see.
I don't know, do they?
But, you know, think about how you're feeling over what your watch is saying.
Remember this, guys. People have exercised since the beginning of time. Watches, specifically.
I only had a watch, didn't I?
Yeah, but not one that tracked his calories.
No, just for his time.
You probably had a Tag Heuer or a Rolex, but I'm pretty sure that just had two arms that just kind of went. These things have only come into play over the last last decade, if that. The people before that didn't have these things, and some of the people from back then had some of the best physiques you've ever seen,
and the best engines.
Do you know what? Because there was just too many chefs spoil the broth. When you start looking at too many different things of data and looking at your watch, looking at your heart rate monitors that go around your chest, and looking at the one with your bicep, and looking at the one that tracks it on your finger because it's close to your pulse. It's just like, no, mate, you don't need it. Track your steps.
Don't need the gimmicks.
Do your cardio. Most of the cardio machines actually tell you what calories you burn them anyway. I know it's more specific when it becomes to putting it on your wrist, but it just becomes overcomplicated. So, to finish that point, Apple Watches not needed in a weights session, only needed in a cardio session, and even then they're not necessary.
My hand's like this because we are going to go through 5 things to take away from this podcast. Number 1,
fuck the Apple Watch.
Fuck the Apple Watch. Number 2, make the most of your body weight if you haven't got equipment at home.
3, daily habits and routine is going to be the best thing that you can do for your motivation. When motivation is around, you'll already be in a routine and it'll be really easy. If you're in a routine and the motivation isn't around, it'll be more likely for you to feel obliged to do that because it's already part of that day. You've already been successful at ticking off your checklist. If you can get in the habit of doing good things regularly, you'll feel the sense of not wanting to let yourself down when it becomes, when the day does come that motivation isn't around. Ultimately, remind yourself of your goal, and if that goal is important, you'll get it done.
Number 4, guys, don't always expect motivation to come to you and fall in your lap. Sometimes, you've just got to get yourself together and, go and get shit done.
Meet halfway.
Meet it halfway.
Last one, a couple of things to take away for improving your training at home. So, time under tension, making the muscles work for longer, either in the form of slowing down your reps, making each single rep last a bit longer, or equally, you can start to superset exercises together, throwing them into trisets, throw them into circuits, giant sets, all that kind of thing. You can go one way, you can superset muscle groups together of the same muscle group to build up that lactic acid and make that muscle work a bit longer, or equally you can do opposing muscle groups. Either way, make the muscle work for longer. Last couple. Increase the volume of your training by increasing set numbers, rep ranges. You know, if you can only squat 10 for 60 kilo, chances are you're gonna have to do 50 bodyweight ones. You know, ultimately just increase the volume of your training to replicate what you would do in the gym. And then the last one, the simple one, the frequency of your training. So either splitting your sessions up into different splits, like I said previously, whether it be from an upper body, lower body split to then into a full body split. Just make sure that you are hitting each muscle group more frequently throughout the week.
5 things right
5 in 5.
So that is pretty much us on this topic for this week. We will be back.
Yes, hopefully you've taken something away from this, guys. We're going to be doing this every week. This will be going live on YouTube, Spotify, other podcast platforms. If you have liked it, do us a favour, share it about, give us a thumbs up or a like,
Get it out there.
share the link, subscribe,
Get me and him yapping away
save it.
out there.
Because we're just talking sense, guys, and ultimately if we can talk sense and put it across to you in a way that you understand and can digest, then you will be rocking as the weeks go by. But yeah, next week's episode will be live this time next week. If you're interested, keep an eye out. Okay? Thanks for listening.
Take care, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and you'll be hearing more from us two people.
Peace out. See you later.
Bye, guys.
B&D, talking sense.